Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's Monday, April 10th, 2017. This morning, national news outlets carrying the story from this weekend that's coming out of Rock County, Wisconsin. Supposedly, a man named Joseph Jakubowski, 32 years old, robbed a gun store and sent a letter to the White House threatening the president and apparently writing a 165-page manifesto where he said he might also conduct a school shooting. What people need to know is this is complete propaganda for the sake of agenda. And if you're awake, the agenda is very clear. What the media has done and our government is they have created a fictional character that possesses a lot of the feelings and outrage of the American people. They're saying this Joseph Jakubowski, who's a threat that the people need to know about, the media is saying there's a $10,000 reward for his whereabouts, which actually is a pretty small reward based on what they're saying the threat he is. They're saying he poses a threat to the White House, schools in the region. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. It's propaganda. But the reason they create this propaganda and this fictional character is to demonize real people. They're saying Joseph Jakubowski is outraged with the government. He sees that the government is a terrorist state, it's lying to us, it's deceiving us, and he wants revenge. And as these news pundits on the TV talk about it, they make the statements that supposedly he said seem as if they're ridiculous, or the thoughts of a crazy person, such as a man who'd rob a gun store and threaten schools and the president. So they're taking these thoughts that are actually very rational, because we do live here in the United States in a terrorist state. If you haven't figured it out yet, September 11th, 2001 was largely done by your own government. Really, it was done for the world government, which is bigger than the United States. That's a larger topic. The United States is part of the New World Order agenda. Anyone who lives here should know that. You know, it was George Herbert Walker Bush who on September 11th, 1990, said the New World Order would be realized. That was 11 years to the day of September 11th when his crackhead son was the president. You know? And that was a major New World Order ritual. If you don't know what the New World Order is, just real quickly, it is Freemasonry and it is Zionism in high places. World banking, world government, world media. This is who controls the show. And we're going to talk about the ritualistic way they control the show. There's a reason that we have the National Emergency 911 on 911. You know, it's not coincidental. It's all part of the ongoing rituals. And we're going to understand how those rituals are just as coded into this story of Joseph Jakubowski. But the point to understand is the government, they're interested in control, in programming people to live under their control and their tyranny. And they see that a growing segment of the society is getting fed up and sees through the lies. But the powers that shouldn't be, they realize that that growing segment is still small. And that growing segment can be destroyed very easily just by getting the rest of the masses, you know, to help turn against those people. You know, over 90% of the population is not awake. And 90% of the people who consume this media won't question it. They'll think it's real. And they'll take on the beliefs that the media is programming into them. These people out there talking against your government, they're bad. They're a threat. You know? The story of Joseph Jakubowski is more exaggerated, but it still carries all those tones. And this is nothing new. The media's done this since before I've been around. That's why when I started speaking out when I was 18, I realized everyone around me was programmed to hate people like me. You couldn't question your own government. You couldn't speak against your own government. I was 18 when September 11th happened, and I wasn't fooled for 5 seconds. Not even for a split second. I knew exactly what was going on that day. Too obvious. Planned demolitions, 911, crackhead president, New World Order. Wasn't hard to see. Wasn't hard to see what was going on. So anyhow, we're going to decode this. I'm going to show you definitively that this is contrived propaganda. You know, when I was 18, I used to just be able to see clearly and explain things to people, and people couldn't see it. They just dismissed me. like they've been programmed to do through this TV. You know, I've always been the Joseph Jakubowski type in terms of the way the minds of the masses are programmed. You know? But what I'm going to show you is what I've learned. Took me until I was 30 years old to figure out how they code this propaganda, how they contrive it, but I figured it out, and I've been presenting it since 2013 on my blog and 2014 with this video channel. So we're going to watch the propaganda. We haven't done this for a while, but I just want you to watch, and I want you to pay attention to the phrases they put on the screen. Extremely dangerous, armed and dangerous. Just pay attention to these words they use. Manifesto. Anytime you hear the news say manifesto, you can just know right there. That is contrived government propaganda made to program you. Every time. So just watch and pay attention. This is going on all over your TV. We're going to watch this, then we're going to take it apart. Here we go, Truth Seeker.
Though, to a big news story right here at home. A massive manhunt underway this morning for a suspect police say is armed to the teeth.
Joseph Jakubowski, who authorities say sent an anti-government manifesto to the White House. At ABC's Adrian Bankert has more on the concerns over what he could do.
Investigators say inside this envelope, a declaration of insurrection.
Got it.
Plans of a brutal attack sent to the White House.
Game time.
More than 150 federal, state, and local officers conducting multiple raids in a nationwide manhunt for Joseph Jakubowski, missing since Tuesday after this video of him mailing what officials say is a 165-page manifesto expressing murderous outrage towards the government and police.
There it is, you see, it's getting shit. Revolution. It's time for change.
According to authorities, the 32-year-old is armed and dangerous with a cache of weapons detectives say are part of his alleged planned revolt. Police say Jakubowski was caught in these surveillance images stealing dozens of high-powered handguns, at least 2 assault rifles, and possibly silencers from Armageddon Supplies, a Wisconsin gun store.
Very high-end firearms were taken. After that, we responded to an arson.
Police say they found a car burned up and abandoned nearby that was registered to the suspect.
The possibility of a school shooting was also brought up. As a result, we've notified all of our local schools.
The potential threat prompting at least a dozen schools and colleges to cancel class on Friday. And we know that Jakubowski is known to law enforcement with a history of mostly traffic violations. He allegedly also tried to steal an officer's weapon at one time. The FBI now offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading to Jakubowski's arrest, but they are hoping he just turns himself in.
That would be the best case scenario. But right now he's out there armed and dangerous.
Yes, still missing.
Adrian, thank you very much.
All right, Truth Seeker. So let's just start right here. Let's start with this man's name, Joseph Jakubowski. In the language of gematria, just real quick, in case you're new here, the language of gematria is an ancient practice of coding numbers into words. It is mostly important to Jewish culture. It's also been adopted into Freemasonry, which makes a lot of sense because any Freemason will tell you that their history, their knowledge, their lessons, they're based in the Old Testament, the Jewish portion of the Bible. Going back to Solomon's temple, almost all their teachings have to do with people from the Old Testament, stories from the Old Testament. So major overlap between Freemasonry and Judaism. Anyhow, gematria, the practice of coding numbers into words. One of these most special numbers in this entire language is 93. Notice the name Joseph Jakubowski, JJ. Gotta wonder if J.J. Abrams wrote up this story. Joseph Jakubowski, 93. Like extremely dangerous, what they put on the screen about him. Just like propaganda. And 93 factors into a lot of other things. But it is one of the most used numbers in these ritualistically contrived stories. Let's go up here to the top real quick. Armed and dangerous. Gematria of 74. Also, one of the most coded numbers again and again in these false flag stories. Number that has everything to do with Masonry, Judaism, rituals, even sacrifice and killing. The World Trade Centers were on the 74th meridian. Armed and dangerous, 74. just like Masonic, just like Jewish, just like occult. The mixing of Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, with occult teachings, like what is done in the higher ranks of Freemasonry, is known as Kabbalism, spelled just like this, also 74. This Kabbalism has everything to do with the Tree of Life, which is based on the two pillars, from Solomon's Temple, Boaz and Jachin. That's why the two towers came down on 911. Anyhow, you start to study these things that exist in the world that people do, you start to see why these numbers are so significant and why they're used so ritualistically. I just made the joke about J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams is on the record saying he codes 47 into all of his work. All of his work, he sticks a 47 in there, and even says sometimes he'll make it 74 because it's the reflection of 47. Remember what 47 is. That's the number of degrees on the Freemason compass and square. That super special number connected to time. What is the ultimate authority of this world? It's the sun. Authority has the gematria of 47 like time. The tropics that measure the solstices in this world, they're 47 degrees apart. To the occult, Saturn is the keeper of time. Saturn 93. They tell us the sun is 93 million miles away. There's a reason for these numbers. Again, why they're put before our eyes over and over and over. I just said the World Trade Centers were on the 74th meridian. Remember the 93 World Trade Center bombing? Remember Flight 93 of 33 passengers made the big poof and fire in Pennsylvania, but they couldn't find the plane. They said Flight AA-11 on September 11th, the first plane to hit floors 93 through 99. So look, this word manifesto, this word that they use all the time in all their staged news stories about building the police state, programming the people, teaching you that a rational opinion is wrong. If you say that your government's a terrorist state, that's wrong. Why is that wrong? That's absolutely right. Your government is absolutely a terrorist state. Our media is terrorism. Every day it is false fear programming. If that's not terrorism, what is? The original definition of terrorism is government by intimidation. We live in a nation where every single day, 24/7, 365, negative news is contrived to scare people, to steer them, so that they follow Big Brother. Anyhow, we were talking about the Old Testament. The Old Testament's 39 books. James Madison once made 39 proposals that became the 10 Bill of Rights. He did it on a date with 39 numerology. June 8th, 1789, if I remember correctly. 39 proposals on a date with 39 numerology that became the 10 Bill of Rights. If you write out 10, it has ordinal gematria of 39. Think about the 10 Commandments and the 39 books of the Old Testament. These are numbers that have to do with laws. And this programming is all about getting people to follow the very unjust laws of this nation. Submit. Just like those news people said at the end, the best thing he could do is surrender. Turn himself in. Turn himself into the real terrorists. Now understand it's all a contrived story, but what really needs to happen in this world is the manpower needs to all rise up like Joseph Jakubowski and say enough's enough. We're done with the terrorist state. We just want to live our lives. We just want to enjoy life like most people do. Most people need to stop settling and saying the terrorist state they live under is okay. Because do you realize what you're all doing? You're all giving away a third of your life every year to this government with your taxes. And you know where that money goes to? Scaring you, needless war, and straight to the tyrants who rule over you. Read the Talmud. Read the Jewish satanic book, the Talmud, which the modern day Jews go by. The Torah is the old Jewish book. I think they wanted to get away from it because it's in the Bible with the Christians, so they went to the Talmud. What's in the Talmud? Do you know? If you don't know what's in the Talmud, I hope you're not somebody who's ever used the phrase anti-Semitic in your life, because that's one that's programmed into you too. to say everything's anti-Semitic when the truth is spoken about the Jewish tyrants who largely do run the show. It's not that all Jews are bad, but it's that the worst people on this earth are Jewish, and that's a fact. Yeah, in the Talmud, do you know what it says? It says you who aren't Jewish are a goy. You're a goy. You know what that means? That means you're a lesser. Yeah. Actually, it even says in the Talmud what the point of your existence is, as a lesser. The point of your existence is to generate wealth so the Jewish people don't have to work. Says it clear as day. It also says you're stupid and gullible and easily tricked, and it's okay to lie to you. Yeah, it says all that. And it's amazing. The numbers that are coded into that book, they're the same numbers coded into our language that are used in these rituals again and again. Especially the part about lying. There's a reason the word believe has lie right in the middle, and your whole life you've been programmed to believe. You see this reverse ordinal of 141? That's one of our 33 numbers. 33, number of Freemason obsession. 33 votes that created the Zionist nation of Israel that was drawn up on September 3rd, 9/3, created on the 333rd day of the year 47. Never seen my work on the establishment of Israel and the Freemason Compass and Square? You know, that should be required viewing for all American citizens. All citizens of the world. But anyway, that word believe, it's one of those words with 33 gematria, 39, you know. Believe with the lie right in the middle. And I was just trying to show you how that even connects to this manifesto, which they love to put in front of our face and all their contrived bullshit. Real quick about the Talmud, Bava Kama 113a. It's where it says it's okay to lie to somebody who's not Jewish. The word dishonest is 113. And you know what I love, honestly? I got love for all people, even the people who rule over us. I love that the powers that shouldn't be, these Zionist Jew assholes at the top, I love that they even kind of diss themselves putting out the truth. There's a reason they gave us the story about big-nosed Jews and lying and Pinocchio and this recent movie Minions. Just got to show you real quick about Minions. Minions, the two most evil people in the world are two big-nosed Jews. They put it right in this kid's cartoon. Anyway, the word mainstream is 113, just like dishonest. Your media's always been run by Zionist Jews. The word bullshit's 113. If you've never seen the movie Network, which came out in 1976, they tell you right in that movie, clear as day, what it's all about. And that the whole world is run on bullshit. And the movie, it's serious business. That movie came out in 1976. It spells out the exact truth of our existence. The word fiction's also 113. You hear that back there? That's my Siri again. I mean, it's way over here. So often when I start recording these videos, Siri just comes on and starts recording my conversation. Isn't that fucked up? Here is what I found. Take a look. It took me to 76. Anyway. So let's get into this some more. There's some more important stuff here. In the reporting, they said he stole at least 16 guns. 16, very special number. One of only two numbers when written out that has the gematria of 33. But just look at the numbers. 39, the word Freemason in English ordinals 96. We just talked about 93 in propaganda. Joseph Jakubowski stole at least 16 weapons. You pay attention to these news stories, you see how they use the same numbers again and again. And again, you know, they write it at least 16, just so they can get that in there. It's because this is information for knowing eyes. And again, it's the Zionist Jews at the top, controlling your media, controlling the editing, controlling what message gets out there. And they have these beliefs. They study the Talmud, and this is their spirituality. That the Goy are stupid and gullible and to be lied to and to be ruled over. This is their belief. Just real quick. A little reminder again, Masonic 74, Jewish 74, Occult 74, Holiday 74. Who wants to guess what Independence Day is? Independence Day in the reduction 74. We're talking about English 74, Gematria 74, setting up this English-speaking nation, you know, creating a 7-4 Independence Day with freedom of religion. Guess what? Most of the world has never wanted to live with the Jewish people. Do you know why? It's because they have these beliefs. But here in the United States of America, they've run the show the whole time, and they've programmed the populace to think and believe the way they want them to. That's what's going on. You know, we're a nation. We are a slave nation, ruled over by this gang, lied to by this gang. Look at how many people are super rich in this country and have never had to work a day in their life. Now look at the hundreds of millions slaving every day, grinding, who can't keep up. It's not hard to see what's going on, you know. And this is going to go on until the day we shut this down. Now look, this surveillance photo came out of Wisconsin on April 4th. Can you make that out? April 4th. This is him, you know, supposedly the last photo of him taken. Here's something to think about. It was Wisconsin, when it was called for Trump, that made the national news media call the election for Trump. So Wisconsin was the deciding state in the 2016 presidential selection, which is what it really is. Your elections, a big rigged puppet show. You know, Donald Trump's nothing. Barack Obama was nothing. George W. Bush, nothing. Bill Clinton, nothing. These are all just men chosen to play their part in the ongoing ritual agenda that we live in. Anyhow, Wisconsin, the deciding state, Trump's the 45th president, but he's only the 44th person to be president, just like Obama was number 44, but only the 43rd person, going all the way back to number 25, because Grover Cleveland had the split term. He was number 22, then there was a Harrison, then he was number 24. And then ever since then, the count's been off. So Trump is the 44th person to be president. Wisconsin, one of two states with a gematria of 44. The other's Georgia. Remember how the Falcons beat the Packers with 44 points in the NFC Championship? Go back over a year in my videos, way before the NFL season began. I named the Packers and Falcons as frontrunners for the Super Bowl that just passed, because of the number 44. The Super Bowl was played on a date with 44 numerology. We saw the Falcons there advancing over the Packers with 44 points. Anyway, with regards to Wisconsin also being the state that was called as the decider, look at their gematria in reverse ordinal, 118. 118, the night of the election was November 8th. The word death also has gematria of 118. Lincoln, the first president to be assassinated in the history books, by an actor in a theater on the 77th meridian. Theater equals 77. Anyway, Lincoln re-elected on November 8th. Number connected to death all throughout history. If anyone's paid attention to the media this year, they keep showing that shot of Donald Trump in his Trump Tower with the gold elevator door closing. All media outlets have been using it all year, and you have to ask yourself why if you're paying attention. Elevator has that gematria, the death number. So a little more. They say Joseph Jakubowski, 32. They say he robbed the gun shop on a Tuesday at 8:40 p.m. Oh, true singer. Let's just go through this. So this became national news on April 8th. You know, supposedly it took place April 4th. Became a national news story April 8th. Which is written as 8/4 in most parts of the U.S., or I mean most parts of the world. We write it 4/8 in the U.S. Notice the 8:40 p.m. We're going to put this all together. April 8th, as we write it in the U.S., 4/8. The name Donald Trump equals 48. He gave his first campaign speech on the trail in Arizona, the 48th state. The reflection of 48 is 84. United States of America equals 84. Before Donald Trump became president, I was saying if he becomes president, it's going to be 1984, the book by Orwell realized. Right after Trump became president, it became a national news story that the best-selling book on Amazon was 1984. Donald Trump's a Jesuit. He also became a TV celebrity in 84, 33 years before 2017. The main character in 1984 is Winston name with 33 gematria. If you never read 1984, it's about a futuristic nation ruled over by screens where the people are always lied to and made afraid, and there's needless war, and everyone's too afraid to speak out. You can get in trouble. Does it sound like the United States of America? Sure did to me when I read it as a teenager, and it's only gotten worse. So they say this man's 32. Jakubowski also has the gematria of 32 like America. July 4th, 1776, date with 32 numerology. Just like Jerusalem equals 32 with the USA right in the middle. Notice the English ordinal of 104. Just everything here is mind-blowing, actually. Every single one of these numbers is interesting. 32 for America. 58 is the number for Freemasonry, secret society, Solomon's Temple, which is what Freemasonry is based in. The Masonic lodges constructed in the framework of Solomon's Temple. The Rosicrucians influenced modern Masonry. They say the leader of the Rosicrucians, Francis Bacon, might also be responsible for colonizing, starting the movement to colonize the Americas by getting Queen Elizabeth on his side. There's stamps out there that you can buy from the 1600s that say Lord Bacon, the reason for the Americas. Notice that Lord Bacon's 84, like United States of America. He was the leader of the Rosicrucians, which means rose, cross. So anyway, Jerusalem. One more thing I want to show you about it. The United States of America is no doubt New Jerusalem, founded by the Jewish banker tyrants, the Freemasons. 7/4/1776 also has numerology of 104, like 10-4 message received, like Jerusalem. And look at this. The other number I really want you to look at here is this 139. America equals 139. Jewish state, 139. Freemasonry, 139. There's a new hit show called Westworld, 139, about people who were created, out west to serve upper ruling class, like the Jewish banker tyrants. The United States of America is a massive nation with a lot of wealth, but the people who live here have none of it. They're all living on credit. All the wealth and resources have been sucked up to the top. All part of the agenda. Like Joseph Jakubowski. So anyway, they got this Sheriff Spoden. They got Sheriff Spoden on the TV. Sheriff Spoden, 144. If you've been watching any of this news coverage, you've seen Sheriff Spoden. Remember what's up with 144. When you write out 44, it sums to 144. Sheriff has gematria of 44, like soldier, like officer, like trooper, like military. Let me give you some more. Like military. We live in a military police state that began with a genocide. We're a nation that executes people. 44, the kill number. We're a nation where a disproportionate amount of people die from cancer. Everyone going broke, getting on chemo that kills them even faster. Remember what just happened on April 4th. April 4th, the one day in the calendar year where you write it out, it sums to 144, just like 44. The spelling that nobody could have ever explained before gematria. I used to ask this as a child. My teacher couldn't answer it. Why is there no U in 40? If you spell 4 with a U, why is there no U in 40? That doesn't make any sense. Took me until I was 30 years old to find out the answer. Something that none of my teachers ever could. Remember, nobody in this world has all the answers. You want to find the answers, you got to work hard, you got to search, you got to ask the right questions, you got to research. In this world, people value being entertained and, material goods over having wisdom and taking care of themselves. Making smart decisions. Anyhow, this year on April 4th, you remember the big news story? I know it's the United States of Amnesia, you probably already forgot. Let me remind you. Sarin. Notice Sarin has the gematria of 74. It was Donald Trump's 74th day of being president. Sarin gas attack were the news headlines. The sarin gas attack of April 4th. And I forget how to spell the name of the town where it happened, but it sums to 144. And you know what? When it happened in 2013 in Ghouta, Syria, I remember how to spell their name. In 2013, it was also the same thing. And it's always been the same thing because this is a code, a ritualistic code that gets used again and again and again. And these Freemasons, once they join their lodges, they become aware of this code on certain levels. And at certain levels, they name their children accordingly and more. That's why we get to see Sheriff Spoden, who was born to be, who I have no doubts a Freemason, and his father was a Freemason, and his grandfather was a Freemason, because that's what's going on in this nation. It's not about, for all you young people, it's not about how hard you work. That's important. You're looking at a very hard-working person. You survey all the people my age in this nation, I guarantee you there's not many people who've worked harder than me. I was born to two very hard-working, poor parents, and they taught me to work my ass off by the time I was 6. Summer break, 6 years old, I was working with my mom, cleaning houses. I identify with those Mexican kids down in Mexico, bagging groceries, working in the fields already. I grew up like a poor Mexican kid, pretty much. And it's not all bad, because learning to work hard is important. So many people, so many of my critics, they say that all this work I do, it's impossible for one man to do it. Wrong. If you were to learn to work hard like me when you were 6, you'd have something to show for it. You'd be just like me. But it took hard work to figure this out, Truth Seeker. So many people just watch my videos and dismiss this work and say, oh, this is a crazy person. These are stupid people. The United States of America is full of crazy people because you have to be crazy to not see what's going on. And the people of this nation have been made crazy. Poison in the food, poisonous programming. What's the average man do in this nation? Play video games and kill people, watch rigged sports, eat junk food, fill themselves with processed, junk, meat that's full of hormones and steroids that was pumped into the animals so they'd get fatter and 10 times the speed so that their body could be sold for more money in the for-profit world we live in. This is what America is. People full of junk, poisonous food, poisonous programming, no attention span, no critical thought. Just look at this news. Who was filming that guy the whole time? Why is it always this way that the guy's able... just think about it, you guys. You know what? If I recorded myself right now, if I went and made a letter and mailed it that I was going to murder Trump, and then I sent off my video to ABC News or CBS or whoever... There's not going to be some manhunt for me. We live in the surveillance age. There's cameras everywhere. There's police everywhere. This guy would have been picked up, way before any news story made it out. It's amazing that Americans don't wake up to that. So they're presenting this guy as a revolutionary soldier, to get back on the topic, and he ripped off Armageddon supplies. I love that Armageddon supplies in full reduction is 82, just like Armageddon in English ordinal is 82. 82 is the soldier number. They're saying there's this dangerous revolutionary soldier after Trump, but he might also stop and shoot up an elementary school along the way. As if that makes any sense. See my video from more than a year ago where CNN put out the story about how police, for the element of surprise and for the extra training benefit, will routinely have live drills in malls, theaters, schools. And they show, even when they do this, they have news teams there ready to film. It's not hard to see what's going on in this nation. The authority is the terrorist. Your media, your government, your police, they're the ones orchestrating all this planned theatrical noise here to scare us. So another thing, Armageddon Supplies has gematria of 199, which is the 46th prime. We'll talk about how that connects to Rock County where this happened. How that connects to chaos. The Freemasons believe in order out of chaos, divide and conquer. Rock County gematria 46. The number 199 is the 46th prime number. And right here on gematriair.com, which is linked in the description, you can find all this stuff out real quick. Just type in 199. Is it a prime? Yes, it is. It's the 46th prime. A bunch of these other numbers are interesting as well, especially the 188. That's the number of the Bavarian Illuminati. Our currency, $1 bill, $2 bill, $5 bill, $10 bill, 20, 50, 100. Add those numbers together, sums to 188, like Bavarian Illuminati, established just before the American Revolution. Also, with regards to this story being out of Rock County, again, 47 degrees on the Freemason compass. Rock equals 47, like Trump, like President, like so many other things in Washington, D.C. The streets even come to a 47-degree angle that point at the White House, just like the Freemason compass. White House has gematria 47, so does government, so does Washington, D.C. With regards to this man being after Donald Trump, remember, Jakubowski equals 148, just like Donald J. Trump, which is his author name, his first book, The Art of the Deal. His hotel where he announced his campaign from, that has the commercial from 2010, has 148 name gematria. We see this number a lot around Trump. The air base that just got bombed in Syria, which looks like it's been abandoned since the 80s, has 148 name gematria. When you think about it, when you realize what's going on, it just goes to prove how long all these rituals are planned out, how long it's been planned for Donald Trump to be the president, which has been at least since the 80s, as I've talked about in videos past, all sorts of predictive programming. The date of this news story, April 8th, 2017, date with 49 numerology, 4 plus 8 plus 20 plus 17. Donald J. Trump equals 49, the small way. Washington equals 49. You know, he's residing in Washington, D.C. If you write out 77, it sums to 49. D.C.'s on the 77th meridian. Remember, the Pentagon's 77 feet tall. Flight 77 hit it on 9/11, 77 minutes after taking off. It's a joke. It's always been a joke by the numbers. All this news contrived ritualistically. We saw in ABC's reporting, they said the manifesto was 165 pages. CNN reports 161 pages. 1.61 is the golden ratio for phi. Doesn't matter because it's all bullshit. Here's Sheriff Robert Spoden. His full name, Sheriff Robert Spoden, equals 102 like police. The purpose of the police is to maintain the New World Order. You know, the unjust laws, locking up people smoking weed, protecting corporate criminals. Notice every time these corporate criminals get off the hook, there's a big protest. And look how the police line up. The police line up with their weapons facing the protesters with their backs, defending the tyrants. Every time. I'll remind you, the Civil War began on the 102nd day of the year. Slavery equals 102. This is a nation of slaves. It says in the Talmud that we are a slave class. We are meant to be a slave class. There's something called the S exceptions, or Derek's retitled it the single reduction, which also makes sense. This is where S is worth 10 instead of 1. It's because S is the 19th letter. In numerology, 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. We had to add S together twice to get to a single digit. Full reduction is making every letter a single digit in the alphabet before adding the word. The only letter you have to add twice is S. So if you just reduce every letter a single time, S is 10 instead of 1. That's why he renamed it single reduction instead of S exception. To me, S exception is more specific and speaks to it, but it doesn't matter. United States of America 102, the Civil War on the 102nd day of the year. If you've ever read my draft chapter from my book that I put out a year ago, my book that I still haven't finished, but it's coming. It's coming, True Seeker. And I'm telling you, when the book comes out, you know, I'm making sure that nobody can deny a word. I'm making sure everything's deadly accurate, perfect, well written. I'm not the greatest writer in the world, but I assure you this is going to be the most important book to have come out in the 20th century, in the 21st century that we're now in either century. It's going to be the most important book to have come out because it exposes what's going on in this world and what the people really need to know. If you're going to read a book, if you're going to get knowledge and information, you know, make sure it empowers you. And that's what this book's going to do. It's going to empower everyone. And we're going to put an end to this game of tyranny by the numbers. But like I was saying, so many of these people born and bred to be, this man named perfectly Sheriff Robert Spoden. His whole destiny was there. Also, Joseph Jakubowski, you know. And even the name, it just even ties into the propaganda. It's a Polish sounding name, but it also has that Russian sound to it. Bowski. I'm surprised they didn't say his name was the Big Lebowski. You know what I mean? In Big Lebowski, if you never watched that movie, right at the beginning when he's buying his groceries, the check is dated for September 11th. These people aren't playing around with their numbers. Talk about what 9/11 is since we got this far. But Joseph Jakubowski, 60, like police, like order. This guy likely is a police officer. You know, an agent playing his part. One last thing about 911. 911, the 156th prime number. The construction firm that built the World Trade Centers, their name in gematria sums to 156. If you write out 33, it sums to 156. 911 made the national emergency dialing code in 68. World Trade Center construction began in 68 in New York. George W. Bush, the president when 9/11 happened, graduated in 68 from Yale Skull and Bones. His birthday is July 6th. From July 6th to September 11th is a span of 68 days. What the World Trade Centers were, check this out. World Trade Center, 185. Don't overlook the 77 either because September 11th, whoops, when spelled correctly, 77, you know, Flight 77 hit the 77-foot-tall Pentagon on the 77th meridian 77 minutes after taking off, and all of that's true, sadly, as it we're told. But to get back here to World Trade Center in 68, notice World Trade Center equals 185. So does Solomon's Temple. I'm not spelling things right. Yeah, there it is. Solomon's Temple in reverse ordinal, 185. World Trade Center in English ordinal, 185. Notice the 68. Notice the 68. The World Trade Center construction began in 68, 33 years before 2001, from Bush's birthday to September 11th, 68 days. CIA equals 68. Remember, Papa Bush, the president before him, was also the head of the CIA. Solomon's Temple goes back to Freemasonry, right? Solomon's Temple. Look what the name of the president was who graduated in 68. George W. Bush. Are you seeing this? Well, here's the kicker. There's another important form of gematria, Jewish gematria. If you come to Derek's calculator, he's created some experimental ciphers. He's just testing things. Not all of these are known to be real ciphers. Derek's experimenting, but Jewish gematria is real. And the Jewish people, they have a holiday known as Tisha B'Av, which is to remember the destruction of Solomon's Temple and the temple that was built in its place. Look at what Tisha B'Av equals. 911. Now pair this knowledge with, CBS reporting that Israeli men were arrested in New Jersey on September 11th for dancing and filming the attack, and they told the authorities they were here to document the attack, so they were sent back to Israel. Do I need to elaborate? That means people had foreknowledge. Israel, the Masonic Jewish nation established by the numbers. 911, Solomon's Temple, Masonry. Truth Seeker, to think that this work is coincidence, you got to be really stupid. And sadly, the United States of America is mostly filled with very stupid people, and not by accident. It's not because the Zionist Jews are right and the Goy are dumb. I'm Goy. That's what they would call me. I'm a Goy. But it's the fact that people have been made dumb. Our school, the way it's set up, is to make people dumb. Christopher Columbus came here. Christopher Columbus came here and named the people Indian. His initials are CC, like 33. He called the people Indian. He was paid for by the Catholic Church. Remember where Washington, D.C. is? Between Maryland and Virginia, Virgin Mary. That used to be the Catholic colony. Christopher Columbus, CC 33, paid for by the Catholic Church, who came over here and discovered that the earth wasn't flat and called the people Indian. This whole history is bullshit. No one thought the earth was flat when Christopher Columbus came over here. This method of teaching is to make people accept bullshit from a young age. It's made to make people look stupid. People knew that the earth was a sphere going back over 2,000 years. Greek mathematicians, and probably many more, probably going back more than 2,000 years. Our whole history, the way we've been taught, is bullshit. You know, a lot of information is being brought to the surface that just shows how bad we've been lied to. You know, a lot of proof coming that there were Africans here in North America way before Christopher Columbus, meaning that they had sailed the seas too, which makes sense. Think about the Egyptians, a black race, all this technological advancement. You see, our whole history has just been washed away, the truth. And we've been given this bullshit construct from a young age, training to believe bullshit. Christopher Columbus discovered a land where people already lived. That doesn't make sense, but it's taught to you. You know, you have to go to school to learn that. Now they teach kids that September 11th was done by Osama bin Laden. You know, you learn that in the history book. It's true, right? Did you know the World Trade Centers were 110 stories tall? Did you know that Building 7, which they don't even talk about, was 47 floors tall? Did you know that the Rockefeller family proposed the World Trade Center project when nobody else wanted it? In 1961, no less, on March 11th. But it's just what it is, Truth Seeker. It's always been Masonry. Masonry is all about controlling the masses. You know, being the invisible architects. All these special numbers, Truth Seeker. You know what? I just caught something for the first time. Architects 156 in reverse ordinal. The firm that built the World Trade Centers has 156 name gematria. Magnuson Klemenchuk Associates. There's a ton coded into that name. But it's just amazing, you know. There's only one other word that I know besides Tisha B'Av that's 9/11 in Jewish gematria. And remember what Freemasonry believes in. Divide and conquer. Division. 911. Division. 47. Foundational. This is why the world's as sick as it is. We've been taught to be dumb. We've been lied to. And then not only that, on top of it, we've been given all these false values. You know, materialism, greed, self-worship. True Seeker, I got to stop this recording because I got a low battery, so I'm just going to end the video here. The rant's been going on long enough. If the computer goes off. Hold on. Now we're back to familiar territory. Hold on here. Ugh. I didn't realize I was talking for that long. But anyway, I've covered enough. Just didn't want to lose the whole recording. Done that a few times. You know, make a 30-some minute video and lose the whole thing. It's frustrating. Yeah, help me get out the word, Truth Seeker. And also, please, if you can share these videos, I appreciate it. YouTube has given me several strikes in recent times and said my videos are hate speech. I won't be surprised if this video gets taken down for anti-Semitic hate speech just for calling out the truth. Until next time, Truth Seeker.